Welcome to Community Conversations, Real Talk, Real Impact. I am Marcia Kiner, the Executive Director of the Children's Trust of Alachua County. Joining me today are Ginger Griffeth, the President and CEO of Partnership for Strong Families, and Pebbles Edelman, the Chief of Clinical and Community Services. So ladies, welcome. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
As I was preparing for today's conversation, I thought back to 3 years ago when I first started, literally my first day at the trust, and we were having a meeting with Partnership for Strong Families. And I had a couple of takeaways that day. One, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And two, the work that you do is vitally important to this community. You were talking about numbers and data and research and what you could do and what you couldn't do and why it made sense to do some things a certain way. And again, while I didn't understand all of the nuances, I walked away thinking the work they do is really important, and I'm glad that the trust is partnering with them. So from that day to this one, that is still my perception of the work that we are in partnership doing together. Let's begin this conversation talking about Partnership for Strong Families. What is Partnership for Strong Families?
Well, I am so glad you asked that question because I do think it really is great to start with a true appreciation of the continuum of services that Partnership for Strong Families actually provides in the community, not just in Alachua County, but the surrounding 12 counties. We are a nonprofit organization. We are very, very committed, first and foremost, to protecting children from abuse and neglect. That is our main mission. But in doing that work, we very quickly recognized that supporting the family as a whole unit and connecting that family to opportunity needed to become the full mission of what we do. So just to give you a little bit of flavor of the convening of the service array, so to speak, that we do in those 13 counties, including Alachua County, really starts with our partnership, not only with the state and the Department of Children and Families, but also our partnership and our actual sort of governance of by the community itself. So as a nonprofit, one of the things that we do starts out with focusing on children who have been abused or neglected. And making sure those children, when they can't stay safely in their homes, or when they can stay safely in their homes, that we are partnering with those families alongside the Department of Children and Families and making sure that those children and those parents are receiving the services they need to be able to continue the journey of their life without us walking alongside them. So what does that mean exactly? Right? So what does that mean?
Right.
That's everything you can think of from a continuum service of a child entering the system and needing placement, immediate placement. That includes delivering services to that child that they may need around behavioral and mental health, education, even their physical health from day one, their dental health. All of their well-being actually sort of transitions to our agency to make sure that we ensure that they are nurtured and that they are safe. But it extends beyond that. We are also responsible for making sure that the parents have what they need, because our ultimate goal is that children and families are together and that they thrive. And they thrive within our communities and where they live. And so that's a really important piece. So even though the initial focus is on the child and services there, delivering and connecting parents to services so that that family unit can achieve the resiliency that they need to carry forward is really important. So think about this in terms of an investigation perhaps comes into the hotline within the state, and we get called out. The investigative unit gets called out and they deem, hey, we need to help this family in a more formal way. That's where we partner with the department. And from that point forward, those cases transition to us, and we work with those families until permanency can be reached. And what I mean by that is a happy ending, right? in that they are an intact family unit that thrives and is resilient moving forward, or if that can't safely happen, and unfortunately that does occur, then how do we find that child that nurturing permanent home that they need to? So that involves not only services directly to children and families, it also involves all of the foster care system itself. And what that means, it also involves the court system, the adoption system, it involves the licensing system, it involves all of those things that you can think of that really take the creation of a happy ending, so to speak. But one of the things that I hope we get to touch on quite a bit today here is in that work, we learned very, very quickly that if we can help families further upstream before that call to the hotline ever occurs, families can do this themselves. They really, really can. And if they have the access to the right supports, if they know where to go to ask for help, if that help is tailored through some research and some data that shows if you focus on these things, they won't need you further upstream. We really quickly recognized as a community-based care agency that that's where the space we wanted to live in, and that's the space we wanted to focus. And I am so proud. I wish that I could say I was here for the whole journey, but I haven't been. The partnership, unlike many other case management organizations throughout the state, really saw that need. And this model that's been created with resource centers and this heavy prevention emphasis, and our partnership even with the Children's Trust is pretty innovative and nationally recognized. And it really is a nod to say, hey, let's let communities thrive and connect families to what they need. And you won't need those deep end services that Partnership for Strong Families provides. So my ultimate goal here is I hope we get so good at prevention that you don't even need the rest of the services that we provide in our continuum ultimately. And I do think that's definitely achievable.
Wow, that was a lot. But that's, again, why we're having this conversation, because I think so often in the community, folks hear Partnership for Strong Families, and they aren't really clear on all of the work that you do or the full scope of the work that you do. Let's stay here for a second before we start talking about your work in prevention services, which is where we really are partnered. I have a friend who is now in the process of becoming a licensed
mental health counselor.
No, when you foster
family.
Yeah, and she has been sharing her journey with me, and I have been really surprised at all of the things that she's had to do, from the trainings to the visitations of folks coming into her home. And she's what I would consider to be, she's my friend, right? One of those folks who you really wouldn't have had to do, you would think your due diligence wouldn't be as strict as it has been. And it was eye-opening to me because I thought, wow, this is someone who is a doctor, someone fairly well known in the community, but the level of scrutiny that the folks have done with her, and her really saying, right, because she said, I kind of stopped and thought, do I really want to do this? Quite honestly. And then she said, but I do, because I know there are children who need me. Yes. And so, and I thought about, that's also some of the work that is provided by Partnership. Talk to us a little bit about that, how families get selected for fostering, and what happens if you don't have families that are available to foster.
So let me start out with, it is my belief that our partner families, our foster families, and our caregivers who are able to provide a nurturing placement for kids who have been removed from their homes are carrying this child welfare system this day and time. And when I say carrying, I mean without them, we would be crippled. And so, yes, foster parents and partner families, as we call them, are a huge need. as well as our relative caregivers or our kinship caregivers who already are aware of the child and know the child. I want to start out with that first. The second thing I would say is there are a lot of standardized regulation around how do we do our due diligence to make sure that a partner family, foster family, or even a relative, it even applies to that, is safe and appropriate and nurturing for the child. Because let me say this, if you are going to look at a family's dynamic and assess that it is unsafe for that child to stay there, and you're going to make the decision, usually one of the most traumatizing decisions, even of a child's life, to say, we're going to remove you from the home that you know, and we're going to place you outside of that home, oftentimes, unfortunately, outside of your county. Sometimes, Alachua County, we're very lucky to have quite a few foster parents out of your school, out of your area, everything you know, then we absolutely have a due diligence and a responsibility and accountability, not only to that child, but to the parent in which we're removing those children from, to say, we have fully vetted and know that this placement is a nurturing, supportive placement for your child while you prepare for them to come back home. And we even encourage those partner families and those caregivers to work alongside that parent. We want to connect those caregivers to that parent to make sure that journey seems as seamless as possible. And there's been some really great stories about how partner families and foster families have partnered with parents, even beyond our involvement, and that stretches forward in children's lives. So that's really important. But when I said earlier that they really are carrying the child welfare system right now, and without them, I don't know what we would do. They come to us as volunteers. Yes, there certainly are, some financial supports for the child that's provided to them. It's not nearly enough. And it is with their open hearts that they open their homes to these children and bring them in, and basically take them on as their own. When the parent can't do that. And if you don't have a community and a network of caregivers that can do that, that weight falls to your caseworkers. And unfortunately, there's not enough of them to go, around either. And so these partner families and foster families and relative caregivers are absolutely essential. And it is probably, if you asked any of my colleagues around the state, what's the number one thing that you prioritize and that you're focused on, and it's building that appropriate placement array for children who come into your system of care. Because when that child comes in, you've got to have a system and a placement array that matches that particular child's needs with a family and what they can provide, and make sure that that match makes sense, and that they can carry that child forward through a really traumatic journey that they have ahead of them. So yes, it is very regulatory. There are a lot of bureaucratic hoops, so to speak, but they're there for really, really good reasons, because we don't want bad things to happen to children when they come in the foster care system. And we have seen evidence of that in the headlines of the news, but it doesn't look like that every day. And I think if people really knew the layers of regulation that are there, they would be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've touched on, foster, kinship, that side of the house. Let's transition to the prevention side of the house. Talk to us a little bit about what partnership is doing in prevention, and then we can kind of transition into how we got into business together, if you will.
So we, as Ginger mentioned, we were blessed and lucky enough early on when we recognized in our area that we had too many children who were needing to go into foster care, hopefully temporarily, and be served in that way, that we needed to do something further upstream. And we knew that was prevention, but we weren't sure exactly what that was going to look like. And we worked with an incredible foundation, Casey Family Programs, and looked at models that were effective in preventing child abuse and neglect, and also supporting communities and neighborhoods so that they could be stronger and keep an eye on children and do the best job possible. And so we landed on this Family Resource Center model. It's been 18 years ago at this point. And so we have in Alachua County, with much support from the Children's Trust as well, 2 brick and mortar family resource centers where they're really like one-stop shops, and they're located in communities and in neighborhoods where historically there have not been access to the resources and supports that those families need and deserve. So we're located there. So you don't even have to have transportation. You can walk to our centers in those areas. And we use data to determine where the best areas we could locate would be. And then in addition to that, we've been able to expand alongside our partnership with the Children's Trust with a community resource navigation program. We have 2 amazing staff, and they go out into 5, 6 rural areas, or very underserved pockets of the community that can't access the resource centers. They may be there once a week. And what they do, especially in these rural communities where there are not services accessible many times, and they will locate at a library, at an existing after-school program, at a local community center, and they'll spend a day a week, and then patrons can come in. Maybe that's where they bring their child for after school, but they'll come in and be able to access the same types of services that we provide at our brick and mortar resource centers. And then on top of that, our most recent expansion, as Marcia very well knows, is our Help Me Grow Alachua program. And that focuses on families and children between 0 and 8. And it allows us with, again, staff to really focus in on, everyone knows, or most of us know, that the brain, 90% of the brain is developed by age 5. So we know those years are so critical. And that is often when problems or developmental issues or behavioral issues may arise, and you have families who aren't sure how to respond to that or how to address that appropriately. This program allows us to really work with those families and all the incredible partners in Alachua County and make appropriate referrals, handoffs, or provide the services on site through education. So it's a broad system of prevention, and we really are hoping to reach people upstream. And the focus also, as I mentioned, are on those community members who may, in the past, didn't have easy access to those services.
Yeah, thank you for that, Pebbles. You're right on with the conversation about Help Me Grow. We are excited about the possibilities of families being able to get those early screenings, for parents to be able to know, at age 2 or 3 if their child is exhibiting those traits of autism, because the earlier that they find out these kinds of things, the better they're able to get them into some form of therapy. What does a family, a parent need to do to get connected to Help Me Grow?
So for Help Me Grow specifically, we have, there's a call number, which I'm not going to have memorized right now, but we have a very easy call number that you can find on our website, the Partnership for Strong Families website. You can also, we have just one email and one simple phone number. So we want it to be as simple as possible. You can call, you can email. It comes to both of the staff and myself. I actually get copied on those as well. And that family should receive a follow-up no more than 48 hours, usually within 1 day. And there's screenings then. You could even do them from your phone. They're very simple early screenings, or you can do them online. And we're going to ask questions that only a caregiver is going to know the answers to. It's about their child, but it'll give us an indication. They're research-based surveys and inventories, very simple, very quick. It gives us a sense what we might want to do in terms of helping to support that family. So the whole idea for all of our services is easy and different than maybe what they experience when they're seeking help in other ways.
Yeah.
And I'd like to connect the importance of what you're talking about with Help Me Grow in those 0 to 8 years as well to the bigger picture that I talked about earlier. One of the things that we're starting to notice in child welfare that's been a relatively new thing in the last 5 years or so is these influx of community calls that aren't necessarily abuse or neglect yet, where they have as parents discovered that their child has a disability of some kind later in the game, not early, like we just talked about, and they feel like they've exhausted everything and are kind of at this place where they don't know what else to do. And now they're calling, the community to sort of say, we need help. And these programs are so important to get out there, to get out earlier, to connect and navigate these really complex systems and get these assessments in place so that when we get to that point, things have usually progressed to a much more intensive place that we could have definitely prevented. So programs like these, I don't think people realize too, with what we're seeing develop just in communities, have such a crucial role,
Yeah. Again, we may not be able to prevent, right, a developmental delay of some kind, but we can prevent the delay of help.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
So you touched on our family resource centers. Again, I think back to that very first day when I met you all, and I remembered somebody in the room talking about the 5 protective factors. And I would love for you, Pebbles, to share a little bit more about the model and also share with us, this is unique. You all receive calls from folks all around the country asking you to share this model. How did this come about? So talk a little bit about that, because you all are rock stars and you're recognized nationally as such.
So yes, we do use a model. It was really important when we started this work that, and we knew we were going to break out into the prevention realm, that we were using, not just coming up with what we thought families needed. I remember sitting at a table also with experts, the mental health expert in the community, the early childhood, the child welfare. We're all sitting at a table and we're like, oh, well, parenting would be good, or this would be good, or this would be good. And then we took a pause and realized we need families to tell us what they need, because one, maybe they do need that parenting class, but if they're not ready, the spaghetti's not going to stick on the wall, right? So they need to be ready and they need to be open to it, and they know their children best, honestly. So we knew we wanted a framework that could really wrap around and provide those supports and allow the families to identify the type of help they needed. So that is the protective factor framework.
Okay.
And it is tied to, so there's 5 protective factors. So social connections is one of them. I always take a note because I don't want to forget one. Parental resilience, knowledge of parenting and child development, and concrete supports in times of need, which I'll come back to for just 1 minute, and then social and emotional competence of children. We have found, actually since COVID, and it hasn't changed, that more than half of the service requests that we receive fall under that concrete supports bucket. And it can be anything from upfront financial, emergency food, emergency clothing, need for faxing. There's a lot that falls under there. And what we're able to do is provide that immediate help for concrete supports, but then sit down and spend time and develop a relationship with that family and see what else we can do for them, maybe around job accessibility or financial budgeting, things like that, or counseling, all of those things. And that lends itself to more long-term sustainability and self-sufficiency. So that's usually our goal. But that is the framework. It is shown by research to be effective. We've seen it in action. And yes, we've been able to share. It's so much fun. Even in Florida, several other resource centers that we've been able to share this model with and provide training and such.
Yeah. So I know you all, again, that very first day, you were talking about the data, and you had received a grant. And I understand that the grant has just ended, but that there's been some really important data that has come from that. Will you all share a little bit about that with us as well?
Sure. So yes, that was a 5-year federal grant. Very rigorous, a lot of time and effort and work and data collection as well. And I think the highlight that I could share from that is that out of all the patrons that gave consent and agreed to allow us to look into whether they had had a formal child welfare history in the background. Out of those patrons, there was a 65% reduction once they engaged with the Family Resource Center and the number of calls made to the abuse hotline. So that's the first thing. That went down 65%, an incredible reduction. And same with investigations. It was a 64% reduction. And how many of those calls, when they went into the department, were determined to need a formal investigation, that there may be verified abuse going on? That was decreased by 64%, again, with families who were engaging with the FRCs, the Family Resource Centers. And then most compelling and what was most exciting is out of 74 families who previously had had children removed due to abuse and neglect, once they had engaged with the resource centers over a 5-year period, that reduction was down to one. Only one family out of those original 74 ever had any cause for another removal episode. So that's a 98% reduction. I think it's what we're most proud of, and shows that sense of connection, that willingness to be vulnerable and ask for help, building up social connections, and then making available resources to the family timely when they're in a crisis are really vital and important.
Talk about success, right? That really is why we are doing what we do. So thank you all for gathering the data, as difficult as I'm sure it probably was at times. And we have to tell this story. Right? We really need to tell the story of just how valuable these touches at the Family Resource Centers can be, not just for the community, but for the individuals that we're serving. A large part of, I think, the reason why we've been involved is because we understand that you have to meet families where they are, right? And being able to take the model and not have it just here in Gainesville, but to our surrounding communities has been a goal of the trust. We are extremely thankful to you all that you didn't just say, hey, we have this great thing, we know how to do it, but we're not going to share with the community how to make this happen in other places. We've been able to partner with you to do that. And so we are now able to say that we have community resource centers in Micanopy. We've just contracted for one in High Springs. We're in process, hopefully here any day, for one in Hawthorne. And we have another here in East Gainesville. So you all weren't gatekeepers. You really wanted to share how we can help our total community. So thank you for that. We're going to be having a conversation here shortly with one of our partners in one of our more rural communities. But before we get to that conversation, talking about partnerships, you can't do this work without collaborations. So tell me, how has that been for you, and who are some of your partners?
Well, let me start by saying, even though we feel like we somewhat, Partnership for Strong Families have the charge for a lot of the specific child welfare work that goes on in Alachua County as well as the surrounding 12 counties, what we know is we can't do it all, nor should we. We are not the experts in everything. And I think what's really important around collaboration and why these partnerships that are being established and leveraged and utilized and just carried forward in such a powerful way is so important is, again, it comes back to if you want healthy, thriving children and even adults in your community, then that community itself and the experts within it have to be the ones at the table. And so that partnership and bringing those experts from all those different fields and sort of being, this convening of a way for people to navigate and access services is so important. So that's what I would first say is no one person ever should be, and you're not going to be able to do it without collaboration. I think it's very intentional that we as an organization chose the word partnership in our name. It's because we very much recognize this is a community initiative. This isn't a corporate or an agency initiative in any way. And those partnerships of those subject matter experts were going to be key.
And I'll just add, really, to echo what Ginger just said, the work is too daunting and too important.
Yeah.
For any one agency to be able to do it by themselves. And also, as Ginger mentioned, Alachua County is so rich with expertise in so many different areas. We were very lucky in that way. And we've known from the beginning, we're not the experts on newborn care. We're not the experts on after school. And so we have one of the top goals of the work that we do, especially I would say in my role and in my director's role, is establishing and building relationships with partners. And again, just to kind of brag on them, they step up every single time for free. I mean, maybe they have grants in the background that's funding that, but they do it for free, which allows us to never charge a patron for any service that they ever receive. And they are the experts in those areas.
Pebbles,
right?
Will you say that again? What's the cost?
The cost is $0. You walk through that door and you don't need to grab your wallet before you come. And it doesn't mean that we're going to hand you out dollars, but we are going to find a way to connect you with services that you need. I would say 95% of the time. Honestly, I feel pretty good about that. Especially if it's more service related. And we work with over, and I don't say this number lightly, we've counted many times, but over 100 community partners. And that's everyone from the Healthy Newborn Program. That is Healthy Start. These are a lot of the early childhood. It's the school systems that we partner with, because accessing services through schools can be also hard and challenging. And we have tutors that come in and provide services. The SWAG Advocacy Group has been an incredible partner in supporting our SWAG Family Resource Center. We have Capoeira, who it's martial arts that we are able to do with the children. We've had Girl Scouts. We have beautiful community members who are doing fatherhood and work with teen boys, and we have them come in. We have banks who will come in and help teach our financial literacy classes, because you don't want me to teach computer literacy, for instance. And so we're going to have people that come in and know more about that, and they can do that work. And I think that's really like the magic dust on the work that happens.
That's awesome, y'all. We say it all the time, but it does take a village, right?
It does.
And every single one of us has a role to play. Ladies, I so thank you for joining me and being able with me to express to our community the work that we collectively have been doing to help, as Ginger said, our community thrive. I will give you all the last word. Anything else you'd like to say to the community?
Just once again, I think, Pebbles, you touched on it. Thank you. Thank you so much for recognizing that the families who live here and the children who are growing up here are your future teachers. They're your future doctors. They're your future CPAs. And if we don't invest in them in a meaningful way very early on, it does reflect later in your community, and you will feel those effects. And so I think it says a lot that Alachua County, as well as the 12 other counties that we work in, that folks, they step in and recognize the need and have been incredible partners through all of this work. And I think that says a lot about where we live. It really does.
Yeah, this is a unique community. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Yes. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
When we come back, we will have the pleasure of having a conversation with Bishop Christopher Stokes, the executive director of the Willie Mae Stokes Community Center. We're back, and we have the pleasure of shifting a little bit to talk about one of our newer family resource centers. Joining me is Bishop Christopher Stokes, the Executive Director of the Willie Mae Stokes Community Center and Family Resource Center. Welcome, Bishop.
Thank you for having me.
I have been excited about this conversation when I began thinking about who we would bring in to talk about the work they're doing through family resource centers and really talk about how these centers have been impacting families. And so I was excited about the opportunity to talk to you because this is legacy work.
Yeah.
Tell us how the Willie Mae Stokes Community Center began, and then walk us through how you came to be a part of the Family Resource Center network.
So the Willie Mae Stokes Community Center was formed in 2013, and it was named after my mother, Willie Mae Stokes. Growing up in Micanopy as a resident, I remember when I was growing up, I always said that when I left Micanopy, I was leaving. When I graduated, I was leaving, and I was never coming back because Micanopy was one of those rural areas that did not have a lot to offer young people, and so fast forward, my time in the military, get out, and where do I end up? I'm in California, and I recall one night I was laying there in bed. All I could hear was the sound of military vehicles and police cars and all of this, and I remember laying there going, man, I can't wait to get back to Micanopy. And so coming back to Micanopy, but then also realizing that, man, not a lot has changed. And so I recall one day I'd gone up to the town hall, and there was a group of kids. They were at the town hall, and they were standing on the top step, and they were running to see how far they could jump off of the steps. And so I recall saying to them, hey, this is a place of business. You all can't do that. And they're very respectful. Okay, Pastor Stokes, and they left. About a month or two later, go back, same group of kids. They're in the back of the town hall, and now they're running up a tree to see how far they could get up before they fall. And so it's like, man, it was from those group of kids that we've got to do something. If all that we have is as a community to offer them is an opportunity to jump off steps or to run up a tree, then I was, during the time I was the career services manager with Job Corps, and there was a building on our property that had belonged to a charter high school, and they had moved off of the property. So the Department of Labor said, we want the building off of the property. And so me saying, I'll take it. And so we bought it to Micanopy, only to realize that this building needed a major amount of work. And so it was always the thought that it may not look like much now, but if you could just see it for what I saw. And so it was then that we started to work. The idea was that it would become a classroom or a place that we could serve food for our church. But those young people and the lack of opportunity for them is what cast us to the community center. And so we started doing that. And for 5 years, we did this with absolutely no funding. Because we were a new program, we had big dreams, but we did not have a track record. And so it was one of those things that we're doing the work. We started back in 2017, we started the community center. And when we started with 4 kids. This morning, yesterday, we had our staff meeting, and we're up to 77 kids.
Wow.
That we provide services for every day. In providing those services, we also recognize that there was a need for other. We had young people, we had families who on Tuesdays we do food distribution. And so we saw this need that was still there, that we were meeting the needs for young people, but we were not necessarily meeting the needs for families. And so it was through that and I go back that I'm a rural community advocate. The fact that we have a program that serves 77 kids if you're in the city of Gainesville or you're in a much larger area, 77 kids isn't really a lot of kids. But when you're talking about rural, you're talking about providing services to families who do not have the access to get to Gainesville, or do not have the access to get out of Archer, or do not have the access to get out of these rural areas. It is important to provide those services. And so that's how we were able to, from the community center, to fall in line with the Family Resource Center.
Yeah. So a huge part of the partnership, right, has been about being able to provide the same services, the same resources, right in your home community.
Right.
I'm sure you have a lot of folks who walk.
Absolutely.
Right? Transportation is an issue.
Absolutely.
And so being able to come over to the community center and maybe fill out an application for a job, find out about, is there a doctor who can come into the community? I know the trust fund Saving Smiles, which is they come out and do the pediatric and child dental screenings. So being able to provide that resource at home is critical, I'm sure, for a lot of those families that you serve.
Absolutely. Micanopy, I love Micanopy. It is a wonderful place. If you are a retired person and you love the sound of quietness, if you love the canopy of the trees, if you love the antiques, if you are just in love with being in a small area where you truly can know your neighbor, then Micanopy is the absolute best place to be. But if you're a young person in Micanopy, that silence can be deafening. And so it's for those. Micanopy, I've often had this conversation with our leadership, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. Our community, we're a food desert because there's a lack of opportunity. We don't necessarily, there are folks in our community that does not have the ability to call Kroger and have Kroger deliver food to them. It's a transportation desert because there is no public transportation that goes through Micanopy. We have a person in our community that transports people back and forth to Gainesville at a tune of $40 a person. And for $40 just to go to Winn-Dixie, $40 to go to a doctor's appointment. That's a lot. And, I never knock anybody for their entrepreneurship, but that's a pretty steep ride. So we started a program called NAR, and NAR is Need a Ride. And so what we would do is you can call the community center on Friday to schedule a trip into Gainesville on Monday. We will take you to one of the grocery stores, Publix, Winn-Dixie, now Aldi, to the CVS or Walgreens, and you have 20 minutes in each place. The only thing is that you can't buy alcohol. We don't fund beer runs.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, and we don't charge for that. We, if you want to leave a donation, that's that. But we need to meet the need. Where there is a need, there needs to be a service. Yeah. And so you've mentioned the medical. There's no doctor in our community. Now there's a doctor's office there, but again, transportation, and most of our patrons they're walkers. And then what about that population who is elderly and at home and cannot get around? And so the Family Resource Center allows us to provide those services to those who may be out of reach, but not out of reach.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So a large part of the work that you have been able to do has been in partnership with the trust. Tell us a little bit about how we have been able to work together and what benefit the trust has been for the site, for the center.
And amazing. Again, like I said, the first 5 years I funded everything out of my pocket, literally everything out of my pocket. And so to now be able to actually have dollars that can support. One of the first things when we first got our first grant, our grant from Children's Trust, the highlight of the biggest moment was that when I was able to give a paycheck to Miss Leslie Phillips. We had direct deposit, but I wanted a actual check to be able to hand to her, and all of the staff that we had, I personally handed them their check because we had moved now from volunteering to actually now being an employer.
Yeah.
Not only a service provider for our community, but now we're also an employer.
Yeah.
And then now to be able to make that shift, thanks to the Children's Trust, to be able to make that shift, that was major for me, because again, it's the continuation of that legacy that we talked about, and so when we look at the dollars that were not just afforded for us to be able to run the program, but for us to be able to expand what we've been doing. One of the things through our after school, we're really big on literacy. Every student in our program received, in our first year, every student in our program received math and literacy games. During the first year of our funding, six out of our seven, we were able to hit 6 out of our 7 targets. And so when I look at what Children's Trust has been able to do for us, is that they have given us the ability to operate in a manner that is both beneficial to our community, it's beneficial to our young people, but it also, because our goal is for the Willie Mae Stokes Community Center to be a model program for every community. Because every community has two things. Every community has young people. Every community has a building that's not being used. They have a space.
They have a space.
And how do we marry that building and those young people? All of this has come through our church. And I tell people all the time that I know God called me to be a pastor. God called me into ministry. Being an executive director was never part of that plan. And so I am excited, not just for the program, but I am excited because I get an opportunity God has given me an opportunity not to just come and pastor, but come and provide a service. We had through our community center, there was a 12-year absence of sports in our community. We had this park and nothing has been happening. And so somebody's got to do something. We got to do something. So we formed the Micanopy Athletic Association and to bring sports back to our community. And so we started with I think 3 teams.
Okay.
And so now we have almost 10 teams that are playing baseball and softball and so all of these things are bringing life for young people, but we're also reaching that unforgotten our elders as well.
Yeah. So what would your advice be to someone in one of our other rural communities who's listening to us and thinking, wow, I wonder if we could do that here?
And so it's interesting that you say that because we have had conversations with other areas that we have talked about collaborating, and time has just been that thing. I was in a meeting with the county, and I think Children's Trust was there, and there was actually another community that was there that said, we want what Micanopy has. We want a Willie Mae Stokes Community Center in our community. And so one of the biggest challenges that we've had is, how do we get our story told? If you're in Micanopy and you were to go and ask someone, if I needed this, where would I go? They would tell you, go to the community center. If you were possibly in Gainesville and you need it, they tell you, go out to Micanopy, because this is what they do in Micanopy. And so how do we move from just being known locally to getting our story out? And so what I would say to them, for that person that's listening, is that I'm willing to help. Over this course of 2017 to now, I learned the word no. I know the word no. I heard no so many times. But no, it never defeated me. What no did was motivate me, because what do I need to do to turn that no into a yes? What do we need to do to get to that place that we can start having this conversation? And so I've sat in rooms and I got the nod. Yeah, this is good. But only to walk out the room with a no. I recall I had this conversation with, he's no longer a county commissioner, but I'd gone to him to talk to him about our program and funding, and so I go through my spiel, and he was like, not going to be able to do that. Well, that was enough. What do you want to talk about now? And I was like, what? But he motivated me. Because you're not the one I need to talk to. Yeah. But I also know that you're wrong. Yeah. Because there's a yes coming. And so, yeah.
So hearing no, but understanding that relationships matter and collaboration matters. Talk to us about how you've been able to collaborate with partners.
One of the things I think that is our biggest problem is that we have programs that love to work in silos. My four and no more. This is what I got this, and you got to figure out how to get yours. Or we see it as a competition. Yeah. I don't care if you have 1,500 kids in your program, we still don't have them all. I don't care if you are providing whatever this service is, you're still not providing it all. And so collaboration, you work because you have a piece, it's like a puzzle. The puzzle only gets completed if you're willing to put your part in there. Yeah. Withholding your part of the puzzle really only defeats the people that you're serving. Yeah. And so for us, collaboration has really been important because, again, we're in Micanopy. I need you to come out to Micanopy. There's some things that Micanopy needs to come to Gainesville to do. And so collaboration has been, and I think one of the things is that because we were doing it for so long by ourselves, there are programs that have now come to us saying, hey, how can we work with you? IGB, the River Phoenix program, UF, all of these programs, because again, it helps our kids. It helps our kids. And I would be crazy, derelict in duty, that to know that there's someone that can help, but yet I don't want to help. I think what collaboration also shows for others that I look, it shows your willingness to be open for help.
Yeah.
Because the more hands is lighter lifting.
Yeah.
And so for us, seeing these programs that come in and our young people respond to them, that they want to see these, because look, you can only look at me for so long and I only got so much motivation. So, yeah.
Yeah, truly partnership, I think, is a cornerstone of the work that all of our family resource centers have been able to do. If someone is interested in volunteering or if someone is interested in receiving services, how do they contact you?
Well, they can reach the Willie Mae Stokes Community Center, and our phone number is 352-466-1136. Our website is Willie Mae Stokes Communities, Willie Mae Stokes CC .org. And our address is 402 Northwest 6th Avenue in Micanopy. And you can call, and every Tuesday we do a food distribution that's at 11:30. Every Tuesday we are actually in the process now of opening a full-time food pantry. And so that will be open on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays that patrons can come in and who are in need, and we'll be able to provide them with food that will last them a week. But we're also looking to offer services. How do we help you not have to come to receive these services? So through the resource center, we've had the privilege of helping people get jobs. We do the resume building. We do the job searches. We post every week. We post job openings. I just got an email the other day. We've already hosted a health fair in Micanopy, and we offered a job fair. And we had 13 employers to come out to Micanopy. And for most people, they would say, man, that's okay. But again, I go, it's rural. And a lot of times, rural communities are not even considered in the conversation.
Yeah.
And I often say that when it comes time, because the rural communities are not in the kitchen when the cake is being made, when the batter is being mixed, when it's in the oven. We're not there when it's cut. And so when we do come, and again, grateful for everything. But $5,000 is different from $50,000, and $100,000 is different, And so a lot of times, I think the misstep is that we get the crumbs because we're not there to get the slice. Now, I'm also a proponent that you can take the crumbs, and there's a lot of good meal that's left in the crumbs. But yes.
Yeah. You talking about the food pantry and the food giveaways, and, our community really rose to the occasion when we heard about the SNAP pause in SNAP benefits for families, and all of our family resource centers. We had a call, we talked about it, and you all said, listen, if you all can get us the food, we will get it to the families. And so I want to say thank you to you, to all of our family resource center leaders, volunteers. Thank you all for really stepping into the gap and providing the much needed resources to families. I also have to thank our partner, Bread of the Mighty, for the role that they played in bringing us and getting us the food. The county in ensuring that we would have fresh produce, right, available. I think they even provided some refrigeration for some of our centers. So I always say this is a community with heart. because when we see that families are in need, we step up. So thank you, Bishop, for the work that you're doing on behalf of all of our families and children in Micanopy as well as countywide.
And I would like to say thank you to all of those partners that you just mentioned, because it is through the community rising together for to support those families with SNAP that we were able to move toward the food pantry. That kind of sped up our efforts. The county actually bought us a commercial freezer that we're going to be able to store food now. The one thing that I would say is that in identifying that need, we moved to on Wednesdays just to meet that group because we didn't want to kind of conflate the two. We saw just as many people on Wednesday as we saw on Tuesday. Those that needed that additional help, those food boxes, tremendous blessing. The fruits and the vegetables, a tremendous blessing. So with all of the good news, there's bad news. The bad news is that we're no longer doing that. Which yesterday we had a group that was like, so we're going to be here tomorrow for the vegetables, and it's like, unfortunately, we're that's on pause. And so I think with my hope, if there anyone that I would be standing up saying, hey, this is something that we need to figure out how we can continue, not to just the SNAP family, but can we look at continuing this as a whole, because this is a need. I don't, people say the community economy as well, but for the people that I see, that's not true.
That's not the case.
The people that I see on Tuesday morning, that our food distribution starts at 11:30. For the people that are there at 9 o'clock.
Wow.
That's not so. For the people that sit in the line that literally wraps around halfway down the street, that's not true. And so we've got to figure out to help how to continue to help those that are the least of us. And so I think that in identifying a need, now the next is how do we continue to meet that need. And Children's Trust, I not just because you're sitting here in front of me, but I really do thank you for your commitment to the rural communities. Because, we have, like I said, the no's, but to see the response and how the yes has benefited our community is tremendous. If you come out to our center, there's a picture of my mom on one end and my son Sean on the other end. And then all the list, there's a list. My mom had 9 kids. And so all of our names are on that wall. My son Sean, who was killed on a 4-wheeler. And so every day, that's my motivation. Every day. My goal every day is to first honor God and to honor my family. And at the end of the day, if I know that I have honored Sean, I know that I have honored my mom and my brothers and sisters, then, that's a great day for us. And yesterday, our kids came back from the winter break, and just seeing them, them running up, Bishop Stokes, and we all have each one of us have our own little thing that we do, and everybody wanted to tell us, what they got for Christmas, and it was just amazing. And then by 6 o'clock, I was going, man, when's the next holiday?
Well, listen, Bishop, again, thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your heart for people, for children, for your community. You truly are making a difference. We appreciate you. We love Micanopy. We love our rural communities. I think if you've had an opportunity to be around the trust, you know that. So I will say to you all, thank you for watching. And we believe that it takes a village, and you are a part of our village. Until next time, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.